Hi, this is Just Saying. Yep, I feel colorful this morning. I feel so good. I had a good sleep. Sleep is really the most important thing that you can do, other than vegetables and jumping jacks. They're good, but it's the best thing to do for yourself is to rejuvenate your body and sleep. And that's what I had a wonderful last 2 days. I had really good sleep. So I feel good this morning. I can see colors. And I also watched News Now this morning, and it was pretty good and interesting. Roland is his first name. I don't know his last name. Isn't that something? I watch his show all the time, News Now. And I always say, I don't like it. I do like it. I don't like it. It depends on the subject and how much he can get out of his panel and this, that, and the other. But they had the sheriff of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that Clark guy. You know what? I've looked at him to see if did I know him. My grandparents lived over off of Capitol when blacks didn't even live on Capitol Drive. And we used to call it Blackfish Bay. We used to call it Blackfish Bay because it was where all of the professional black people would live. And what I found interesting, not everybody that lived over there, a majority of everybody smoked herb or something like that because they could afford it. Their parents would give them money for some herb. So we had all the large quantities of nice herb. I shouldn't have that memory, but it's real. But I was trying to remember him. Was he one of the families one of those black families? See, being in that area, I knew a lot of black people that didn't want to be associated with black people. And most of them became senators. They were in the government office. Now, this is when I was young in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is what they had rolling back then, and most of the blacks being like Obama. If they're in a political office, they stay strictly American. Their own, have all this conversation that we're having on Rolling News Now. The president has never had with his own people. Now he's going to be a black leader or just a leader, I don't know. Definitely not a black leader. But he, won't even bring it up. But those are the kind of black people that lived on my block on 15th Street. That's where they came from. And then they started moving out towards Brown Deer. That made them more, the shit, And that kind of mentality of black people were always in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And if you have that kind of mentality, just like the black president that you have, you won't get anything out of it. And so Scott Walker's, this sheriff, which is a black person, and he looks familiar to me. And I'm trying to think, did I know some of his family members lived on 15th Street? They were black people like the Obamas and like any other blacks that don't like black people. And I'm just going to say as simple as that. Their own people. They'll find everything in the book that's wrong with their own people. That is their fault. He's that type. And there were tons of them. I was raised around them. I was around tons of people like that. I don't know if some of them came to my grandfather's church because I didn't even socialize with many people in that church. I mean, I couldn't tell you. Some families I can remember, but there's some that I really, because I didn't find fakeness as I don't look at that as spiritual or godly, so I just didn't have any interest in any of those people as a child. You have people that talk about their own people or won't defend. We had your president with Trayvon Martin. Well, it's the law. I know you don't like it, but it's the law. And he still, till this day, is defending the police department when he should be criticizing, because brutality, police brutality, definitely exists in a large way. I'm trying to figure out if that sheriff was living on my block, because there was a lot of blacks like that, and their parents were like that, light skinned, especially most of them were light skinned. You very seldom found any people in Milwaukee that weren't light skinned, that had spots like lawyers or something. None of them. How dare they cry about it today? It didn't just happen. Milwaukee didn't just, it is one of the worst right now. As I can see, is, although I'm living in California, that's the worst. That has got to be the worst. But small Milwaukee is very small, and for it to be so corrupted, it didn't happen overnight. I remember when that happened, and I never wanted to live there. I always wanted to leave. So I did get something out of my life that I wanted. I wanted to get out of Milwaukee, but my son lives there. I have an aunt, I have relatives that are there. Where my mother is laid, and my father are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So that is an important city no matter what. And I was raised there as a kid. So I have some good memories. But that Clark guy, that sheriff, is looking awfully familiar. Did I know his family, his mother? There was one lady that was light skinned like that. He used to always tell us, "You go back where you came from," telling me and my brother. And my grandmother had to tell her off. But for a black person to say something like that, that's what Milwaukee was full of when I was on 15th Street on Capitol, all up and down there. It was full of that then. And then they moved, like every time the white people move, then they move. So they move into Menominee Falls or whatever, so they can be big shots and look down on their own people. But now, look, it went too far. It's gone too far. There's a lot of vulnerability. You can see, oh, this is vulnerable. We can push them around and we can kill them. Vulnerability. We can get that sheriff to talk for us. He's always hate black people. Or he'll do what we ask him to do, like they did with Obama. Obama is not, I'm not overlooking what he really is. I'm not going to overlook it. That's probably why I do Just Saying, and I constantly say it over and over. I am not here to overlook what he did. I think what he did was abomination. It was totally, you don't have that much power and not do anything or say anything. And with the corruption that the black people are going through, and police brutality is a big, big, big issue that he never said anything about. That Clark sheriff, though, looks familiar. That man is pathetic. But most black people, I don't know. Have you known people like that? I have. People think when you get on that level, you are successful as a black person. Don't have a lot of association with the black people, or especially in the inner city, especially as a politician. This is right now. If you do, then you won't ask Obama, why didn't he? Why didn't he? I have not heard not one person ask him that question, because I want to hear it. Why didn't you say anything? And why did you say this? I only have two, because I have videos and stuff that of proof that I can look at. Why are you like that? But then I know a lot of black people like that. I've known them for a long time. They were very mean to me, because I'm a dark-skinned girl. All of my girlfriends were light-skinned, because they were nothing but light-skinned people in the neighborhood. There were no blacks. There were no blacks. Darkies like me. My brother was a little lighter, so he would get away. But me, there's nothing. I was black. My favorite person was Angela Davis. Power to the people. I'm telling you, I've always been like this, so it's no biggie. So that's what I would like to say. Thank you, News Now, for the report and having that sheriff on there. I thought to myself, that sheriff he's disgusting. But he's in a little small town. Do a drive-by on him. Just kidding. Yeah, really. I shouldn't say that. They're going to start shutting me down, girl. But that's all I have to say. I heard from one of my North Division friends. I'm going to answer you back because I'm so happy to hear from you. North Division is the high school that I went to in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I'm happy to hear them. I know they hate to hear me talk about church. In Milwaukee is either two things, church or bars. There's so many churches. If you don't go to a church, you'll be just slammed, which they really need to get out of that. If you want to go, you go. Leave me alone. I choose my own spirituality. And other than that, it's always going to be the Blue Devils are always going to be my heart. And I was thinking about Phyllis, too, recently, you guys. That's one of my friends. She went through her transition a couple of years ago, but I think about her all the time. So, everybody, have a wonderful day, a nice, colorful day, and be happy. And remember, know your history. Beat the doors down. Let me just say this. One of my friends has an aunt that's 107 years old. She still cooks. She still does stuff around the house. I told him, you know what? Ever since I was younger, those were my best friends. I love older people. I love them because they can tell you about yourself. Talk to them about your family. They can tell you things that these history things that you're reading is incorrect. I read something about Egypt, and they had a mummy there with dreadlocks, and they're saying that the blacks weren't Egyptian, but Egypt is Africa. That's the only thing I remember being taught as a child. So I don't even worry about what people say, but they lie. So if you have somebody like that in your home, take some time out. Take her some tea, whatever she likes, and sit down and say, I got a couple of questions. Do you feel like talking to me? And they may say, I can't answer no questions. I don't know how to do that. And then ask them some things. Ask them where's the records of most of the marriages. I did that with my grandfather, and he said it's in a Bible in St. Louis. And the cousin died, and they took the Bible, and they didn't know where the Bible was, lost. But he told me that information. I found that very interesting, and you'll be very surprised how close you are to your history that you think is far, far, far away. Most of you black people that don't want to talk about slavery and all of that, you are very, I feel sorry for you. I feel so sorry for you. Because one day, sometimes, even as a black person, you're going to face some things where you're going to have to face and say, I'm black and I love myself. I love myself because my aunt told me about this. I love myself because my aunt told me that they survived through such and such, such and such. That stuff gives you power. So, the information gives you power. There's also, I don't know if you can see this. It's called Company of Prophets. Joyce, I finally own this book. Company of Prophets. See it? It says Company of Prophets. I wish I could get it a little clearer. But anyway, this book is my favorite book in all times. I used to hunt it down at every library for years. I dominated this in the library. I dominated this book. They would look, Amber Kelly has it. You're not supposed to do that, but I would find a way to get that book. Well, guess what? As of yesterday, I own it. I own Company of Prophets. Reverend June Gatlin, this is the first time I ever heard of her. I mean, read about her. She was phenomenal. She was a child prophet. She's been a prophet for a long, long time. And they have Company of Prophets. It's so important to me because of the black people that are in the book. All of them are black. And all of them are prophets. And most of them are in your religion, Christian religion. But yet and still, because of their being a prophet, they may look at things a little bit different. They may approach things differently, but most of them are preachers and all of this kind of stuff. It's Joyce Knoll. She is the one that actually did this. Company of Prophets. It's the bomb. I'm going to take a picture of it and put it on my timeline. I'm so excited that I own this book and I can go into it and reference it anytime I get ready. I love to read. I love to read. So, that's it. Take care, everybody, and have a good day, okay? Ashe.